Procurement tendering workshop with Ministry of Education. It's great to have you on so early, and clearly this time works well for you all, because other times we've really struggled to get the engagement. So really grateful to have your time, 8 o'clock this morning, and grateful to have Ministry of Education do this presentation for us. As the host, we're delighted to introduce Ministry of Education, who are valued kōkiri members of Amotai since 2021. The Ministry has consistently demonstrated their unwavering commitment to supplier diversity and inclusion through their actions and initiatives. The Ministry of Education has been at the forefront of championing the supplier diversity movement in Aotearoa by actively participating in the Amotai Meet the Buyer events nationally and providing the workshops that we're doing today. They recognise the immense value and diverse perspectives and partnerships bring to the industry. Through this workshop, we have the privilege of delving into the Ministry's vision, requirements and expectations when it comes to the tendering process. It is an opportunity for us to gain a deeper understanding of their goals and explore ways in which we can collaborate to drive innovation and efficiency in the education sector. At Amotai, we believe in the power of collaboration and the transformative impact it can have on our collective success of an inclusive and resilient supply chain for Aotearoa. This workshop serves as a platform for open dialogue, knowledge exchange, and the forging of strong, mutually beneficial relationships. Together, we can create an environment where diversity thrives, ideas flourish, and innovation flourishes. We extend our warmest welcome to the Ministry of Education and express our gratitude for their dedication to supplier diversity. Their presence here today is a testament to their commitment to creating an inclusive and equitable supply chain for Aotearoa. So with that said, the formal part aside, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Paul Tukukinua, who will open us up with a karakia and we'll get started. Kia ora, Paul.
Tēnā koe Missy o tira, tēnā koutou. Ai, he mihi kau ana ki a koutou, kua tai mai i tēnei ata. Ai, rere ana te mihi aroha ki a koutou, kua tai mai i te whakarongo tā tātou kaupapa i tēnei wā. I te whakatūwhero tā tātou hui, ka karakia tātou, mi ino i tātou. Manoa mai te Māori nuku, manoa mai te Māori rangi, ko te Māori kaiau, kei Māori tupua, ka pakuru mai te pō. Tau mai te Māori, te ihi, te wehi, te wana, te manawa tātou nei tupuna, tūturu whakamaua ki a tīna, tīna haumi e hui e, tai ki e. Kia ora mai tātou. Yeah, just echoing Missy's kōrero. Wonderful to see you all here. Loving the turnout this morning. Grateful to support Missy and her buyer with Ministry of Education, who are also one of our finalists for Buyer of the Year for our upcoming Navigate Summit in August the 21st. And so, yeah, really looking forward to celebrating their achievements and seeing how that comes out on the night. But without any further ado, I'll hand the time over to Junior and his team. And yeah, they can take us through their presentation. Following the presentation, we're planning to have some time for Q&A for pārtai me kōrero. And then after that, we'll finish off our hui with a karakia, and we'll let you get back to the important mahi that you all have for the rest of the day. So, Magdala and Junior, kei a koutou.
Kia ora, Paul. Missy, for your kind words and intro. Thank you, Paul, for blessing us this morning with a beautiful karakia. Kia ora koutou, tarawhalawa, mararo lei, kia ora ana, whakalowhalahi atu, ulamanaka. Good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us this morning. Like for a lot of us here, this is probably our lunchtime. We've been up half the day already. But yeah, really appreciate you guys making the effort to join us this morning. This mahi for us is really just to, I guess, further demonstrate our commitment to supporting supplier diversity, supporting our people, supporting Māori and Pacifica and businesses. And I'm very fortunate to have very supportive leadership team who have also joined us this morning. So really just wanted to acknowledge Aditi and her leadership team, really just letting me do what I need to do. Sometimes I get pulled back, asked to slow down, but all in all, really grateful that that I have a bit of space to really support our Māori and Pacifica and businesses. So really, we've just recognised the opportunity to support capability of our businesses or Amotai businesses with regards to the tendering process. So throughout the presentation today, we'll go through key aspects of the tender process, but also provide some tips at the end of the preso, and then we'll look to talk through some of the technical stuff of the procurement process. If again, can we just ask everyone just to be on mute, or Missy, can you just mute everyone? Can you hear someone coming through?
Junior, you're gonna have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. I will I'm supported today by both Mangala and Jackie, who I will get to introduce themselves when it gets to their slides. On that note, I will hand over to Mangala just to get us started. Thank you.
Kia ora, Morena. My name is Mangala. I'm Senior Procurement Specialist at the Ministry of Education, and just want to say thanks to Junior for actually including me to be part of this hui. So yeah, we're just going to kick off with just some tips in terms of what it's like tendering for the ministry and school-led projects. And we won't go into too much detail because we would like to get to the questions part, because I know some of you might have quite a lot you want to discuss. So without further ado, we'll get started in terms of, well, what does a good tender look like? And what are the things that we need to consider when responding to ministry tenders? So in general, in the physical workspace, the types of RFXs that I use are requests for quotes or a request for tender. And I'll start with the RFQ. So this is issued when schools or the ministry have specific and detailed understanding of what's required to achieve the overall project outcome. It does focus primarily on price because of the already established specific requirements. So really the only differences between the responses are the price, and because the specifications and expectations are already defined, it does leave no room for innovation. So it doesn't really allow suppliers to be creative or to propose alternative solutions to achieve the overall outcome of the project. We typically use RFQs for low to medium value procurements. And you'll find that on the education website, we have two templates available, which are the RFQ Lite, that's used for non-complex procurements with values of less than 100,000, and an RFQ, which is used for contract works with a value of 10,000, but still under 100,000. So what about request for tender? Well, this is used when schools or the ministry are seeking construction works. These would range from repairs, refurbishments, or demolition, sorry. And in contrast to an RFQ, the RFT does allow for more flexibility. So suppliers' offers in response to an RFT will not differ only in price, but also in the methods proposed to meet the requirements stated in the tender documentation. It does encourage suppliers to leverage expertise and creativity to offer unique solutions that can achieve the desired outcomes in various ways. It can be used in a single stage process or in the second stage of a two-stage process. And usually two-stage processes begin with a registration of interest. And in terms of timelines, Well, RFTs are advertised on GETS. Jackie will talk about GETS at a later stage during the presentation. And these are advertised for a minimum of 18 full business days for the single stage. And as for the two-stage process, the RFT is closed and it's advertised for 15 full business days. All right, so you will come across different evaluation criteria depending on the type of tender. I'll go through some of the criteria we typically use, starting with the proposed solution. Well, while some parts of the response may be generic, for example, your processes or systems, it is important that you tailor the proposal to the school's specific requirements and highlight any particular needs, include specific adjustments for the school's context, such as if they need maintenance services, clearly articulate how the solution adds value and benefits the school or the ministry. Demonstrate your expertise and present yourselves as the experts. It is quite crucial that you include project-specific risks and outline your approach to risk management. Include a program for completion of construction or services in line with the dates in the tender documentation. However, if you are proposing something that's different to the tender documentation, do include some wording or assurance around this. All right, in terms of capability, this is where we ask you to demonstrate your previous experience and track record through CVs at that individual level, as well as the organizational level. We do ask that within the CVs, you include information such as the timeframes, scope, and values for previous projects completed, and do include school projects where applicable. And continue on from previous slide, capability, make these examples relevant to the project being tendered. So for example, if you're tendering for 10 million new build versus a 500K roofing project, those are quite different projects. So we definitely suggest that you try to find alignment with the current tender where possible. And if you don't have any education examples, do put forward projects that may share a similar risk profile and challenges, just to give that confidence that you do have the capability. And generally, live sites make good examples. And remember to include whether you are outsourcing any of your key roles. Capacity. So just in terms of capacity, providing that assurance that you do have appropriate contingency plans in place, name specific personnel and include CVs for backup resources where possible. I will hand over to Junior just to talk about his bread and butter, broader outcomes.
Thanks, Mangala. Hey, look, so this is probably one of the best slides from today's pack. So this here, I guess, illustrates our commitment to delivering broader social outcomes through all of our procurement activities. So you'll see we do have a focus around Māori and Pacifica-owned businesses, but we do include mental health and well-being requirements. We have a partnership with Mates in Construction, where they deliver their program across mainly all of our capital works projects. We've got opportunities there for, we've got employment opportunities and training and upskilling as two key requirements. These two areas admittedly are a little bit the areas that we would need to work on. But it's still a very big focus for us. We've got environmental outcomes there in both energy emissions and waste reduction. We're doing some really cool stuff in waste reduction, especially in the Auckland region where there is the infrastructure, where we're reducing waste to landfill from anywhere from 80 to 90%. So again, this year, as part of our ministry-wide broader outcome strategy, this isn't being driven by, it is being driven by procurement, but we have support right across the business with this broader outcome strategy. So really, really exciting, this piece of work. And again, really just helps to demonstrate our commitment to delivering social outcomes. And Gala, next slide. Thank you. So a couple of reasons why where tenders are unsuccessful. These are pretty consistent. So pricing. So specifically talking to the school-led in the school-led environment, where there are limited budgets, hence why waiting for pricing is anywhere from 50 to 70%. It's generally not something we kind of cringe at, but again, there are reasons for that. So we do recommend or encourage that suppliers do ensure you put in your best price. Non-attendance at site visits may not seem like a big deal, but it is. We again encourage suppliers to attend site visits, meet the school, see school sites. So that's something that we do take note of, especially for project managers who are managing school-led projects. Mangala mentioned earlier around responses not being tailored. So be very specific in your tender responses, and then no clear plan for timelines. So generally when we don't see a timeline or site management that aligns with your proposed solution, then it does really tell us that you haven't really thought about how your how the works is going to be delivered, and that's not reflected in your timeline. So we do again want you to make sure that you do put some thought into those aspects of your submission. And Carla, next one, thank you. So just some general tips. Please ask questions during the tender process. Really, really important that you get a good understanding of the scope. So please use the GETS platform for any sort of communication. That's really, really important. Again, as I mentioned, attend site visits if possible. We have a standard contract, and we generally don't like seeing any tags for contract conditions. Avoid using proofread your submissions so you can avoid any grammar errors. And then the last tip there is around, which isn't on there, is we've provided the scoring methodology for you. So really want you to have a look at, once you've done your submission, really use that scoring methodology to actually score your own submission, because that's the methodology that we'll be using, or our evaluators will be using to evaluate your submission. Next slide. Over to you, Jackie.
My name is Jackie Collins. I'm the Principal Advisor for School-led Property Projects. So I look after, I help the schools to manage their projects and our staff who help schools. So any questions later on the school-led projects, I'm happy to help with. I'm jumping into technical things in GETS, so let's get on with that. First thing up. Health and safety. So we have a couple of slides here for technical things. One is health and safety. The second one is insurance. Obviously, with construction tenders, there is a lot of technical stuff already, but these are the couple of things that are real do not pass go, make sure you get these right kind of things. So Health and Safety Work Act. I'm sure most of you are across that, just making sure that you describe that well, that you know that you've met that, how you'll meet that. Site-specific safety plan is a requirement in our tenders here as well. Another thing for your information, ministry staff visiting your site should also be in PPE and listening to your site foreman. So you have our permission today to make sure that they're doing everything that you need them to on site. Insurance requirements. So this is just something just to make sure that you're covered for. This is what will come up in an RFT, in an open tender. So a minor works contract is something under 100,000, medium works 100,000 to 1 million, and major works over 1 million. These are the insurances that you require. They're probably fairly standard in the sector, so perhaps just check your policies are up to that speed. Contracts and consultants should also have their plant insurance, so your equipment and your vehicles on site. Make sure you have third party for those. The school is, of course, insured for damage to its property, but if liability was to sit with the contractor, that's something that you need to be covered for. GETS, I don't get it. So why do we have GETS? Why do we use it? Something I always explain to our school-led PMs is an open tender is an open competitive process in the market. So making sure that we give all the interested suppliers a chance to respond. GETS is the platform or the vehicle we use to do that in the public sector, and there's benefits for us and you as suppliers in that. For us, it's having a platform that's based in New Zealand, that's secure, that we know our information is taken care of, privacy and security things are covered. It's also free for public agencies to use. And for suppliers, it really gives you a one-stop shop for everything the government's looking to purchase. So you can look across different departments. You can access anything that's available. And that's just making sure that we can communicate with you when something goes out. And you can use that as a platform to see what's on. If you go on to GETS any given day, most of the property tenders, majority will actually be school-led projects. At one time, there's sort of 200 or 300 on the go. So if you open a GETS tender and it says Board of Trustees near the top, that's a school-led project in there. I'll just go through the basics. What I've done is include, just for those that haven't seen GETS yet, just the real basics of what to look for when you log in there.
I'm sorry, Jackie, I think the slides
Sorry,
are
we're still on the wrong slide.
Yeah.
Hang on. There we go. So this is the GETS front page. So what you do is, oh, sorry, it's jumping. Hang on. There we go. So this is the GETS front page. So what you look for is when you first come on is creating a new account here. And later, next time you come, supply login is here. This is a slightly old picture. This is actually, they've changed this to a red button so it stands out, but largely this looks the same. It's overview. So this is the general, just how it works. So when you open a tender, you need to subscribe to it. That's the key thing. Once you're subscribed, you can submit, ask questions, and do everything you need to respond to that tender. So you can either tender a response or you can ask questions here. So this is about subscribing. So at the bottom of the overview page of a tender, there is a blue box. This is how you subscribe here. And this is what appears, so you can enter your details there. So make sure, of course, you're registered as a supplier first, and you've set up your account. If in doubt, there's a GETS helpline. This is really, really useful, guys. Don't be afraid to call. We're finding at the moment suppliers are getting really good responses from these guys, so do reach out to them if you're in a GETS process and you get stuck at any point. If you also have questions on your tenders, there is a contact in the procurement officer should identify their contact, and there'll be an email for you to answer that as well. But do ask any questions you have about the tender itself and GETS, as always. What the GETS questions do is give an opportunity for everybody to see the answers to the questions, so you're all getting the same information. This one is a wee plug from our comms team on infrastructure news. So this is a really useful piece of information. The ministry gives its updates out to the sector, out to you guys via this platform. So make sure to subscribe to that if you haven't already. You will know what initiatives are coming up with ministry. Any other things that you need to know for infrastructure from our teams, changes that we might make to our processes. That's me. I think the questions now.
We do have a question. What is the difference between an open tender and Amotai targeted tenders?
I'll jump in there. So great question. So what we have been piloting over the last 18 months is a process or a policy where we can run a closed tender just to Amotai businesses for any works up to 500K. So that is for us, that's how we're looking to be deliberate and really engage or unlock opportunities for our Amotai registered businesses. So that's the key difference there. So rather than a school-led project manager going out to open market, as Jackie mentioned, there could be anywhere from 200 to 300 projects on GETS as an open tender. This policy enables us to run just a closed tender, just to our Amotai businesses, again, for any works up to 500K.
The recording for this session will be available online. I believe it will be uploaded to the Amotai YouTube channel, so you'll be able to access that. And we will share the slides as well. There's a question from Sanjesh. Does MOE have any processes to weed out lowest price which may not be adequate to complete the job? Is there a QS or PM estimate? Anyone feel free to chime in. Junior?
Just checking if
Or
we
we'll get
have
someone from a Capital Works side.
Yeah. Do we have any as Matt or Igor? We can come back to that question.
Sorry, Junior, it's Lena here. Salofa, everyone. My name's Lena. I'm one of the principal procurement specialists here at MOE. During the so we probably wouldn't be able to, correct me if I'm wrong, team, but we wouldn't be able to confirm it's lowest on first view, but we would go back to the QS to do a price analysis with current market rates, if I'm correct, Junior.
Yes, that's
yeah.
For our capital works projects. Yes, so we will engage with a QS to help support that project. But in the school-led space, I think not too sure if we have a QS on those school-led projects. But Sanjesh, we'll come back to you with that.
Yeah, in the relation to school-led projects, the schools will actually often get an estimate. Depends on the size of the project. Often some of them are quite small, but in something that gets over a few $100,000, they will do a QS estimate to have an idea of what the budget might look like. Fairly common.
Just have a really quick comment to that question. Sometimes it is tricky to figure out if a response is way out of the ballpark, but I think what is quite helpful when we're receiving a number of responses for a particular tender, if one is way lower than the rest, it will stand out. And so we'll kind of look into that and go, why is it that the rest of them are around about 400K, but this one over here is 250? So sometimes just the fact that it's so much lower than others does create a bit of a flag or a question, and we'll go and delve into that. And if we think that something's actually just unrealistically low, we can either delve in, ask more questions, or we can say, look, actually, we think this person has missed some of the scope. So we can definitely dive into that.
Quite a few questions flowing in. Thanks, Carla. What is the turnaround time to submit a tender? I think we did specify that in terms of the RFT, it's 18, a minimum of 18 working business days, and that's based on the government procurement rules. Although at times there will be circumstances where you get more time, but yeah, it's a project by project basis. Question from Tony: how can we as Amotai businesses participate in the closed tender?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. So we have a process in place with Amotai, and it's using a matchmaking form. So once we get an opportunity for a piece of work in the school lead space, we then complete this matchmaking form, and then within that form includes the scope of the opportunity and all your sort of project relevant info, and then we send that through to Amotai, who will then make that opportunity with suppliers they have in their database.
And I'll just add in there. So when we're doing the matchmaking, we're looking for the criteria that Ministry of Education have asked from us. So they will tell us what health and safety, insurance levels, quals that they require for that particular opportunity. It's really important for Amotai suppliers that your profile is up to date. So we do look at your experience. If you guys put your references into your profile, we look at that, we look at your all your quals, and we do the best possible match we can, and then it goes back to a shortlist goes back to Ministry of Education, who will then do a pre-briefing sometimes, and then they'll approach you directly. But it's just a note, please make sure your profile, that is your shop front, is up to date, and websites are really important. Please, if possible, get a website. It's a great way for any of our buyers to have a look at your goals and experience. Kia ora.
Thanks, Missy. And I might just expand on that a little bit. We've also recognise the opportunity to further help businesses to understand the opportunity just through pre-tender briefings. So we've encouraged our procurement teams to actually run a pre-tender briefing with the list of suppliers to ensure that they have all the information they need to help make an informed decision as to whether they're going to put a bid in into that opportunity.
Team, can I just jump in here as well, just with an example that we've had recently with some Amotai tenders. There's also a need to clean up the taxes and the finances in that as well, because it does come, sometimes we've had someone go through all the way and then they've suddenly realized, oh, I didn't do my taxes last year, so that that stuff needs to be tidied up as well.
Thanks, Lena. Question from Ricky: does Amotai have a baseline target for Māori-led tenders within the MOE project program? Missy?
Sorry, repeat that question, sorry.
Does Amotai have a baseline target for Māori-led tenders within the MOE project program?
No, we just go on whatever all our buyers request. They can request whether they want a Māori business or a Māori and Pacifica business. We don't have a baseline on preference on who we're supporting. It's Amotai suppliers. We're trying to support all Amotai suppliers into contract opportunities. Paul, did you want to add anything in there? Jump in.
I think for me with that one as well, Ricky, there's we don't give the ministry a download of 30 businesses, right? So we have a process with the ministry wherein we try to, and I was going to say this in my little wrap up, we try to pre-qualify as much as possible so that the buyer organization or the client gets, the most viable shortlist possible for suppliers. And that could be based on capacity. Well, first of all, it's based on the criteria of the scope of the works that the ministry has given us. So the ministry has given us a 450K kind of project. Businesses that have only turned over 200,000 or under 200K may not meet that criteria. And so there's a process there in which we kind of pre-qualify, and that process also includes reaching out to our suppliers. Maybe we might get a short list of 12, and having a corridor with those suppliers and being like, hey, do you have capacity for this right now? And it might be like, oh, actually, no, I'm quite busy right now. So I guess when you had to look about that baseline target, the ministry, when they give us that opportunity, that's purely for Māori Pacifica businesses. So, they're working towards a minimum of 8%, which is the progressive procurement policy. They want a minimum of 8% of their contracts going to Māori Pacifica businesses, and we help them with that. That's the target that they're searching for. They've done a really good job in the last financial year around that target. But in our process, we try to pre-qualify our suppliers as best as possible so the ministry has the best shortlist possible to engage for the project. It's my whakaaro on that one. Mangala, can we just go to Sam and then go to Sam and then Shirley? They've had their hands raised for a little while, and then we can go back to the chat questions. Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Cool.
Yeah, kia ora, everybody. Hey, and thank you for this opportunity. So my question is, so from a project management company perspective, I've had some kōrero with members of MOE, and I understand that there are panels that are approved, that you're then an approved sort of supplier, and for a period of time, that is where MOE will go for those services. Is there an ability to get on those panels once they've been approved, or do we have to wait until the next round, which could be X number of years? When that process has happened in the past, our business wasn't at a capability level, but it now is. So we're just wondering if there is a way to get on those panels in the interim.
Yeah, I will have a go at that, team. So I guess, thank you, Sam, for the question, I guess. And assuming you're talking from a PM perspective, so yes, we do have panels in place for both contractors and professional services. I'm like to think you'll be across the national PM RFP that we released last year, and I think we're just about we're just about done with that procurement process. So comms will come out on what that new project management panel will look like. I'm not too sure on the term of that, those contracts within the PM panel, but we can definitely look to find out what that is and share that with you. Construction directory, that panel is refreshed annually, and then again the other panels, like your architecture panels, your QS panels, I think those are under review and are likely to be undergoing a refresh. I couldn't give you a timeline, but again, we can certainly find that out. Hope that answers your question, Sam.
Yeah, okay. So there's no sort of so if a panel's been appointed, there is sort of no process to gain access to a panel in the interim. It's only when that tender process that happened last year, that's now closed, and we now wait until whenever that panel is advertised again. Is that correct?
Correct. Technically, that process is still in place, and we probably wouldn't be able to share when that would be sort of refreshed. But yeah, we'll again look to reach out with those details once it becomes known.
Okay,
and also keep an eye on GETS, Sam, as well. Whenever there's an opportunity, we do put that up on GETS. So if a panel is running, if we find that there is a gap in a region, if we need a new supplier, there's different drivers for that. But yeah, do keep an eye out on the tenders website on GETS. If we need a new PM somewhere in your area, yeah, it'll be up there.
Thank you.
And just lastly on that, any opportunities that we have, we share that with Amotai, and I think pretty sure Missy sends that out to the wider, to everyone in the database.
And Ministry of Education have been really proactive. They've done a number of panel pre-briefings. So before the panel opens up on GETS, they'll do a pre-briefing to help businesses understand what a panel requires and how to position yourself for that.
Not too sure
Hello?
if Shirley's still around.
Yeah, I'm still here. Sorry, I was just waiting for an invitation to
Shirley.
speak.
Yep.
Kia ora. I've just got two questions. One is we came late into the tender, so missed the site visit. Is there opportunities? Is it worth going for that tender now that I see that's an important part of the process, or wait, because you don't get many in your community, if that makes sense. So when they do turn up, and you miss the site visit, is there a way of getting a second site visit? And my other question is probably around the supplier pricing. When we finally got the tender details and sent it to our supplier, they said they've always struggled with an 18-day turnaround, because as a builder, you need to have that information at least a week out from closure, so you can work out from the supplier whether they've actually included everything. So there's, I'm just concerned about the 18 days turnaround and the tender process for pricing, and when you miss a site visit, which is probably early in the piece.
Jackie, I might have a go at the first question, give you a bit of time to think about how we respond to the second one. So in terms of the site visit, there have been some instances where PMs have allowed second site visits, but again, that really depends on the number of suppliers who have turned up to the initial site visit, and again whether whether PMs think there is a need to add in an additional site visit to ensure that there's enough competitive tension or enough suppliers in the mix to respond.
Junior, it's always easy for again to ask that. So carry on.
Sorry, with regards to the site visit, Junior, there are some instances where our delivery team would be coordinating with the school. So sometimes the site visit dates are driven by the school. So we just need to adhere to those dates, and it's very much important. And before we ask you to turn up for the site visits, we actually have a supplier briefing session. So we explain everything, that site visits are very important. Sometimes we have one, we have two. The first site visit is very critical because that needs to be arranged with the school. The second site visit is usually for the subbies. So if you've got your trades, etc. So if you can't make those site visits, then you can always go back to the ministry and say, give us a rationale why you can't attend those. And I'm pretty sure that we can arrange for another one. The main thing that we found out from previous site visits is that some of the suppliers just don't turn up, and it's been quiet. We have to ring you and ask why. With regards to your second question about the pricing, if you think that you needed more time for pricing your subbies or some other stuff, then you can always go back to the ministry and request for an extension of time. I hope that answers your two questions.
Kia ora, can I ask a question?
Thanks, Jean.
Thanks, Jen. John has a question, but first we'll go to Sanjis because I think he's had his hand up. Yeah, we'll come to you, John.
Thank you. My question really, Sanjay here from Auckland, a company called Kiala. My question relates to clarity of scope, especially sometimes on civil works projects where you're doing a driveway, a car park, or asphalt, something like that. It's I share some results of tenders on the chat as well. There's a lot of pointing on site that there's a driveway that's to come here, and this is. But there's actually no drawings as such, not even any sketch. So everyone kind of understands the scope differently. There's no design, which is understandable. So I just wondered if there's any comments on that, and whether the PM firms actually have an allocated budget that they can engage an engineer, somebody with, or even an architect to kind of draw up something that sort of resembles what they actually want, because sometimes you have about 10, 15 people rock up to the site meetings, and they're having their own conversations on the side and all this kind of stuff. So not everyone quite clearly understands what is the expectation. So they each take their own measurements and so on. And we have vastly different tenders, and I've just linked over there. Some of the tenders are half of what we've submitted, and we generally submit on a very tight margin as well. And some of them are a third. So my kind of assessment of that is that the scope someone else have allowed and what we've allowed is different. So I wonder if there's anyone that can comment on that, whether a supplier that has encountered similar, or maybe someone from MOE perhaps. Thank you.
Lena here. I'll jump in from a capital works side. So any changes like that should actually, if it's not already in the initial scope, then it's on us as MOE staff to be releasing what we call notice to tenderers, often referred to as NTTs. And that's where we would clarify specifically and talking with the designers on where a driveway entrance should be going. It actually should be on paper to our suppliers. So I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that, but that's my comment. It should actually be in writing from us. And then that way all suppliers understand the same scope and should be measuring the same entranceway wherever it is placed. Or
yeah, we've encountered several RFTs where there's actually no design per se at all.
Yeah.
It's just a site visit to try and identify what the scope is.
Okay, thanks. That's great feedback, Sanjesh. And my encouragement is for you to call us out on that, to say to us, this was said on site. Please clarify, push it back on MOE to make sure we're putting that down.
Okay, thank you.
It might be worth knowing if it's like a ministry-led or a school-led. In your experience, is it a school-led or a ministry-led project?
Mixture.
Okay.
And so you heard earlier on that we give debrief sessions. That's also an opportunity for you to feedback that kind of so that we're not doing it again, not making the same mistake.
Right. The debriefs go back through the PM firms, though, not directly to MOE, are they?
For school-led projects.
Oh, it's a school-led then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do use the questions as a chance to probe them a bit more, Sanjesh, as well, if you come across that. Yeah, more clarity, the better. That's better for everybody in the tender. So yeah, do push them to ask the questions.
All right.
We're just conscious of time. John, did you want to fire away your question?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Just one question. I just went through a closed tender and it was really quite a smooth process, and I found it really good. But my question is, the 8% target that the last government set, that you have to, for your social procurement and all that, have you heard anything different from this new government about that 8%? Is that going to change, do you know, or have you had any feedback about that?
Beautiful question, John. Thank you. So the short answer is no, we haven't heard anything, but we're still soldiering on, John. This is still really important mahi for us. So we'll carry on as we have, unless we hear otherwise.
Yeah, thank you.
Quinton?
Yeah, morning everyone. I just had a question around the pricing aspect. I don't know if you saw my question in the chat there. We just finished an an open tender that was on GETS for Ngātai Atea Wharekura, and applying for work to do there. And I was a little disappointed with my experience there in terms of we made it through to the final 3 tenders. But a couple of things with that was we experienced a lot of the bigger commercial companies now coming down to some of these smaller MOE work, and at the moment what they call buying jobs, in a sense they're pricing them so low that they can make a loss but are covering their own expenses, which doesn't allow us as smaller businesses, especially as Amotai, who don't have the reach and the pull that they have, not being able to get jobs or work in that sense. And so one of the feedback that I received from the project manager for that job was that one of our, I guess, our standout qualities in our tender was that we identified broader outcomes for the rangatahi for using our Amotai directory for other trades that we wanted to use as part of our tender, and was kind of our main thing that got us to the final 3 tenders, but we missed out on because our pricing couldn't be as sharp as the guys that were pricing it so low. Is there any advice or any direction or any feedback that MOE has on what's happening because of that? And especially for us as smaller businesses.
Kia ora, Quinton, for the pātai. Yeah, great question. That question's probably above my pay grade, but I will just give my my 5 cents. I think it's really down to sort of the market slowing down. I think we're seeing a lot of those big contractors start sort of looking at GETS, and looking forward to, like you said, applying for smaller pieces of work. We, unfortunately for us, we can't. The opportunities we see are in this approach that we've developed to close tender to Amotai businesses. And I mentioned earlier that it's a pilot that's been underway for the last 18 months, and we've seen some really good. We've got some really good success stories right across a lot of programs within the MOE, not just in school-led projects, but other national programs as well, like fire alarms program, coal boilers program. So we're seeing those as other opportunities for our people, for Amotai registered businesses. And yeah, I've had similar feedback from other suppliers too. But I guess for us, we're just looking at other areas, other ways that we can support our Amotai whānau. You would have heard recently we've got our capital works projects, a few of our projects back online. So hopefully those suppliers will see those opportunities come through and sort of stop bidding for these other jobs. But again, as Missy mentioned, please ensure your details are updated, your profiles are updated on the website, so that when an opportunity does come through, and these opportunities come through right throughout the motu, so please, whether you're in Tamaki or out down south, please ensure your details and profiles are updated.
Yeah, is there any way that, like, especially for this tender that we just finished for Ngātai Atea, because I see a lot of kura kaupapa and these other wharekura that come through GETS, is there a way that as MOE you put together a profile of our, or I guess make these wharekura aware that we have Māori owned and Pacifica owned companies that they can look to first in terms of doing their mahi there? Because a lot of people that I've spoken to, they don't realise that we do have Māori or Pacifica businesses that are capable or more of capable or just as capable as some of these other bigger businesses that are getting through ahead of, at the expense of a lot of our Māori and Pacifica businesses.
Yep. So that's part of my role, where I have to, part of my role is looking to educate our business, our stakeholders around broader social outcomes, and I put a lot of focus around supplier diversity. We do have individuals within the Capital Works team that we've been trying to lean in to share or create awareness around broader social outcomes. So we do have a program director within Capital Works, Maxim Wehi, who I lean into, and is also very supportive. And the hope there is that he's also advocating for Amotai businesses for any Capital Works projects that comes his way, as he is the program leader for all kura. So we are doing things, Quinton, internally to help create that awareness. It's just like anything in government, things are really, really slow. And you've got to get buy-in from key people within the business, and unfortunately that takes time, but it will happen. And like they say, it doesn't happen overnight, but it will happen.
Yeah. Well, like you
I'll
said,
just jump in a bit, Quinton, sorry.
Yep, that's all good.
For your school-led projects, there's nothing to stop you developing relationships with your local schools as well. Go out and meet them and let them know what you do. That way they'll know what to ask for their designs.
Well, part of the tender that we had, especially for Ngātai Ātea, kind of what got to me was my son attends that school, but I was told I wasn't able to go there and ask about the work, and they weren't able to talk to me about the work.
Once the tender's out in the market, no, they can't.
Exactly.
But looking for future opportunities, do talk to them. One thing we're also doing, Junior and I, is we're going to start doing a bit of a education with our school-led projects around Amotai, and we're creating a bit of a new guideline there. So hopefully we'll see more of those projects filtering through Amotai process.
Awesome.
Hey, Tefano, I'm just conscious of time. Hey, Miss is just going to jump in. 9 o'clock. And I know we had MOE for a certain amount of time. I also know that you guys have some awesome mahi to get onto as well. We really appreciate the pātai, and we know that the chat's filled with pātai as well. So we'll see if we can download those questions and provide a bit of feedback there for our MOE whānau. But really just want to mihi to our MOE whānau for taking the time to come on and share your presentation, but also to hear the kōrero and to have the pātai and the Q&A. And it's always, it's like that millionaire hot seat kind of thing, right? It's always tough questions and good kōrero, good learnings, good feedback. But I think going back to Missy's opening kōrero, for us at Amotai, MOE has been, a really amazing buyer to work with, and to see, some of those things that they put in place, and what they're trying to do moving forward. As a government agency as well, there's a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy that our whānau at MOE have to kind of work their way through. And what they have achieved in their time with us, we really think has been great. And as Junior said, it's not there yet, but it is going to come. And we kind of wholeheartedly believe that as Missy and I and our team work with MOE, that we're going to continue to getting these wins across the line, and looking at how we can support and provide more opportunities for you, our whānau that have shown up this morning to have the kōrero and ask the pātai. So I think for me, just kind of wrapping up really quickly, I really loved Mangala's kōrero around the RFQ, RFTs, processes, RFPs. I think the main takeaway I took from that one was timeframes. I know I'm a chronic procrastinator, but this is probably a place we can't be a procrastinator at Te Whānau. We need to, look at those timeframes and look at when those RFTs come out. We need to see what our calendar looks like. As we develop a track record with MOE as a buyer, it kind of helps us to, build a stronger and deeper working relationship moving forward. So those timeframes around the RFQs and RFTs, just a reminder to keep on top of those. That also led into Jackie's corridor around Gets. Gets is a sea of opportunities, eh? Make sure you're subscribed to MOE. Like I was a supplier two and a half years ago. I still get my Gets feed every day, and I still see all the MOE stuff coming through. And so, at least have your subscription open and ready to go. But there's a sea opportunity. Make sure your Gets profile is up to date. And then also the infrastructure news corridor. So this video will be shared on our YouTube channel. If you want to get that the infrastructure news details, there'll be that slide there. And then finally finishing off, I think one of the things I took away from Junior's corridor was small things matter. And then I think it was Leanne talked about the financial side as well. Junior talked about, grammatical and, attention to detail on the things and, scoring yourself, using those tools to help you understand where you sit within, this tender and what you've been able to answer and put forward as your tender. So yeah, just kind of those small things matter. Making sure that your Amotai data, your Amotai profile is up to date. I saw a question in the chat around, do we get access to this Amotai supplier? If you're a member of Amotai, you've got access to the supplier database. It's all right there. And so it's just, it's about taking the time to spend time on the platform and navigate the platform. Update your profile. If you've now got, when you started Amotai, you had 10 employees and now you've got 40 employees. That's a significant thing that we need to see. If you were operating at under 200K, 2 years ago, and now you're operating, like Sanjesh said, now, or Sam, now you're operating in the million space a year. That's a significant thing. That's a key part of the criteria that we kind of look at as we go to those Amotai tenders, because some of the scope of the mahi, it requires this certain type of capability. And so, we do what we can to support our buyer and to support our supplier whānau in what we're trying to do in this space. But yeah, those are some of my key takeaways from today. Again, huge mihi to Junior, Jackie and Mangala and the team for being here, the wider MOE team for sharing your whakaaro. Thank you to all of you, our supplier whānau that have been here this morning as well and given of your time to listen and to engage. We look forward to having more corridor and sharing this with you as we progress with our MOE whānau in this space. And as Junior mentioned, no news yet, so they're continuing on just like we are. No news around that 8%. So it's BAU, and we're going to keep pushing that kaupapa as well with te whānau. Thank you again, and I'll close up with a bit of a karakia. Me inoi tātou. Unuhia te uru tapunui, kia wātea, kia māma, te ngākau, te hinengaro, te wairua, te tinana, i te ara tangata. Koia e rongo kia whakairia ki runga kia tēnā, haumia hui e, tai ki e. Ka pai whānau, Amotai YouTube channel tomorrow or Thursday. This will be uploaded and ready for you to review and go through again. Kia pai o koutou rā. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, team.
Tamahi, ka kite.
Thank you.
Thank you.